Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're taking a look at the new Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom Autobot Road Rage. Road Rage is number 41 in the Kingdom line, and here in the US, she is a Target Red Card exclusive. I was lucky enough to get this toy recently, so now I can do a review for you guys. So, if you see my reviews, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Road Rage's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll see the instructions. There won't be a golden disc card here because she's an exclusive. And then we'll see Road Rage herself in her vehicle, flight, and robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing plenty of group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So, despite being an exclusive, Road Rage does come in your standard Kingdom Deluxe packaging. You can see the figure right here on the front. Across the front and the side of the box, you get artwork of Road Rage in her vehicle and robot modes. So she looks pretty dynamic. Her red really pops against, the oranges of the backdrop here. So let's go ahead and turn this around. And now we get renders of Road Rage in vehicle, flight, and robot modes. She takes 21 steps to transform, and I didn't really say anything, but you can see for yourself that she is retooled to have a new head that is similar to Trax, but still different, in much the same way that the original Road Rage toy was just like a straight recolor of Trax. So they, when they kind of reimagined her as, her own separate character, as a female character, they changed the shape of the head and the face a little bit just to set her apart. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any other retooling, which is unfortunate. If you look at the Masterpiece versions of these toys, Road Rage is given like new limbs and stuff to just help set her apart a little bit more, make her a little more feminine looking. Here, they didn't decide to include that in the budget, so like the legs, all that stuff is exactly the same. Unfortunate, but not unexpected for, just a standard deluxe toy. But she does look really cool here. And then, as always, on the side, we get our standard Kingdom side panel. Here's our instruction book for Road Rage. You can see her name and number here. Cybertronian text. Nice render of the character. We open this up, we get the little how-to for her accessories. And then we go right into her transformation to car mode. It goes right there. And then another set of instructions for her flight mode. Now, what's interesting is that her instructions seem to be a little more compact than Trax's was. Kind of everything's more crammed into a wider, taller but wider space. So that's interesting. You don't normally see them reformat instructions between retools like that, but for some reason they did here. And here is Road Rage's very sleek vehicle mode. You can see it is a red vehicle designed to look kind of sort of like a Corvette, though not exactly for licensing reasons. And personally, I've got a thing for red Corvettes. A father figure in my life used to drive one when I met him many, many moons ago. So I've always really liked red Corvettes. So just by her alt mode alone, she's already winning for me. It's just a really great look. And I love the fire pattern that they have on the front, which is much more complete looking than the one they did for Trax. Trax's was much simpler and based on his cartoon appearance. This one's a little more elaborate with the yellow and orange in the flames. Not quite as elaborate as the Masterpiece, but I really would prefer something that looked like this on Trax's hood than what we got. Her fenders still have a hard time staying closed all the way. I have that issue with my Trax copy too. It's not like the worst thing ever, but there's that bit of a gap there I wish wasn't there. You can see the accessories on the back, which you can always remove if you'd like. They're just the same accessories that came with Trax, no new rifle or anything, which is unfortunate. But the wheels still look nice. The paint matching's a little off here. It's much flatter on the clear plastic than it is on the actual red plastic. But, it's not the worst, but definitely not the best. It's really patchy, especially looking on the doors here. You can also see she's got the fins that aren't deployed right now, but they do unfortunately put these like blue stripes along the back of the vehicle and become part of the taillights and all that. So, she's very much a palette swap of Trax. A lot of their paint applications are, in the exact same places. So there's not a whole lot new in terms of the color layout, except of course, the flame pattern here. Naturally, here is a shot with our Kingdom Trax toy that I reviewed not too long ago. And you can see the biggest difference between these two, aside from, the swapping of colors, is this fire bit right here. And not only is his Road Rage is more detailed, it's a different shape too, right? It's more tall and less wide than Trax's Flames. Again, I really prefer her look. It comes much closer to capturing the original design used on the toy, and frankly, just looks better to me. Aside from that, these two are very similar looking. They look like you would find them sitting right next to each other at a car lot if you're looking to buy a Corvette. I mean, how many of us actually have that kind of money? But yeah. Still really nice. And I will admit I'm biased. I do prefer the red coloration over the blue. Now, that's just because, again, I really like red Corvettes. Nothing wrong with the blue one. This one just tickles my fancy a little bit more. And here, like in our Trax review, we have the Masterpiece Road Rage, which looks quite a bit better than our Kingdom figure, though, you know, keep in mind, big budget difference between these two. The biggest thing is that the car is much more elongated and, you know, much closer to the actual shape and proportions of the Corvette than what is kind of our off-brand sports car here. The other big thing for me is the Masterpiece uses a much brighter, much glossier red. Again, much higher budget for paint and plastic colors, but I gotta say, it looks much, much better. Like, the difference between their colors is more stark than that between the retail Trax and his Masterpiece counterpart. You know, that Masterpiece had a glossier paint, but the colors were closer. This one's much brighter and much better in my opinion. I wish the Kingdom toy used a shade of red closer to what we got on the Masterpiece, because this is like true sports car red right here, and it looks fantastic. But again, for what this is, you know, about 20 bucks, it's not too bad. Let's see them here. Both have the silver rims, which is nice. They both end up with pins to the rims, which is unfortunate, but it's better than like big red plastic nubs sticking through the middle. So, yeah, there is a clear winner between these two, but it's not really a fair comparison. I like them both for what they are. Now we get a look at Road Rage's flight mode, and just like Trax, it's really just flipping her arms and her wings out to the side. That's really all there is to it. Not very fancy. Oh yeah, then you also flip these fins out. Sadly, because she doesn't come with her special larger rifle, there's no cool feature where you plug it on the underside or anything. She just has the same one Trax has, so it just hangs out on top. Unless you want to take it off, which you could always do. But then she wouldn't have any kind of firepower, because she doesn't have anything in the front either. So, it's cool, but when you look at the versions of this character that have been released before, it's a little underwhelming. Here's a flight mode comparison with Trax, and you can see nothing different between them, just, again, colors. They still, enter this mode the same way, weapons configure the same way. I do think Trax looks a little bit better in this mode. Just, I don't know, I think the contrasts of his forearm paint and the white wings and all that just looks a little bit better, stands out more. Road Rage, she doesn't have any painted details on her forearms, which is unfortunate, because that means she's actually less well painted than Trax is, because she is supposed to have white and red details painted on there. So yeah, she does suffer a little bit in this mode, and naturally it would be a robot mode too, because she's a little bit less colorful than she should be. Now this comparison is interesting, because not only do you see that the Masterpiece toy comes with that little, grill blaster thing that Trax had. I forget what they call that, like a flight ram or something. I forget the name of the gun. But she has that special, long rifle that came with the original toy, and just like the original toy, it can plug onto her underside, which gives her some added firepower in this mode. Plus, the rifle itself has a little, another 3mm port in it, so that you can actually display her on the stand that came with Trax in the flight mode and still keep this attached, so that's pretty cool. Again, our new girl here, she doesn't have any special accessories, anything that helps spruce up this mode, so she's a little underwhelming in her flight mode. Okay, now we get to see Road Rage's robot mode, and like I said in the beginning of the video, the only new tooling here is the head. Unfortunately, nothing else was modified in any way to help her stand apart from Trax, which is, not super surprising, given the price point and everything. But still very disappointing. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't have pre-tooled some, different biceps or thighs or anything in there, but they didn't. But as far as just what we get, she does look really nice, right? It's a quality toy. The Trax toy looks really nice, so she looks really nice, just by default. She's got some oddities. The arms, which are normally a white color, like the bicep area, are the same dark blue as her wings and her helmet and all that. And that appears to be just due to molding requirements, right? They molded the biceps out of the same plastic that they did the shoulders and all that. So you're just kind of stuck with that, which does hurt accuracy a little bit, but it's not a huge detail. I'm sure if, you didn't have another figure to compare it to, you probably wouldn't even realize that her biceps are the wrong color. So not too worried about that. She does get a lot of really high gloss paint on her bicep area and her little skirt flap thing here, which can lift up, just like on Trax. So there is, some decent looking paint on here, but then the rest of her is very plain looking, right? The shins are just black, the feet are black. She's not as flashy as I wish she would be. Which, she kind of reminds me of the other Target exclusive that came out just previous to this, which was the T-Rex toy, which I also found to be pretty low effort as far as recolors go. Now, granted, she looks a lot better than T-Rex. Like, T-Rex, not only was he low effort as far as them, kind of adding or changing anything, he also just had some, color choices that were a little odd because they don't come from anywhere. They don't match any interpretation of the character. They just decided to kind of swap out some of his classic colors for no apparent reason at all. She at least, keeps her classic color scheme, even if, not all the paint details and stuff are there. As far as her tolerance is, the Trax mold's only been used once before, so you would expect everything to be nice and tight, and it pretty much is. I don't really have any issues with tolerances. She still has the same issue that Trax does, where she uses these very short tabs, just really nubs, to help lock the sides of her legs and, in turn, her feet in place. So there is still that issue. Now, mine holds together well enough to where as long as I'm not messing with her, the legs stay, right? They don't pop loose when I stand her up or anything. So not a big issue, but it is kind of annoying when you're manipulating the toy, posing it, playing with it. Though, again, the issue is nothing new. It's just a fact of the mold. Now here's our mandatory group shot with Trax's robot mode. And like I said, the only difference here, mold-wise, is the head. I will say, I think Trax comes out better in this mode than Road Rage does. I know I liked her vehicle mode colors a lot more, but when you get to the robot modes and how the colors, are laid out and how they break up, I think Trax just looks a little bit better. He's got more paint details on him. Now, it's funny because the areas that are painted on them are pretty much exactly the same, but he's got more color variation, right? Like, both their forearms are painted, but he's got, the yellow and the red design here where she's just painted black. Same thing with the skirt flap, right? He gets, this nice white little middle part going on here. Hers just fully black. So, I don't know. They went out of their way to put the fine details on him, or, at least as much as they did, because he is still missing some details from, more elaborate designs. But they didn't do it for her. I'm not really sure why. Again, I think she just kind of suffers from, quick store-exclusive repaint syndrome, right? Where, the store just wants something on the shelves. They're like, hey, give us something. They're like, oh, yeah, here's a red Trax. Here you go. I don't think the amount of effort was put into her design, that most people would have liked to see. Not that she's bad. I'm not saying this toy's super bad. It's really nitpicky stuff on my end, but there are some small details that would have been nice to see. Maybe have the little V areas on her feet painted white or something, just for some variation. And then we get to what is, in my opinion, the best rendition of Road Rage ever made, her masterpiece toy in the robot mode. Now here's the awesome rifle I was talking about, which, her toy at least gets the color right. They're doing their best to mimic it without having to tool a new piece. So, I'll give them that. Though on Trax, it's black also, so I'm not sure how much effort went into that decision, because his wasn't supposed to be black, but hers was. I don't know. Biggest things to notice here, while we already touched on the shades of red used, where, it's a brighter, more vibrant shade on the masterpiece, The dark blue actually ends up being quite a bit brighter on our retail toy than is the Masterpiece one. I don't really have a preference either way. I think they both look fine. It does kind of give her a bit of a Super Mario look, though, doesn't it? But yeah, whether or not you like that detail, that's going to be entirely up to you. So we look at details that are missing. You can see red stripes here that a retail toy doesn't have. Talked about the forearms already. The shins are supposed to have all sorts of different colors on them, and here they're just black. And then the feet. Now, granted, the feet are cast in different colors, which again is, I'm sure due to molding requirements. But there's no reason they could have painted the top of them. At the very least, like I can see them not painting the blue on the black because it wouldn't show up very well, but at least get the white V in there. I mean, it's molded into it. You see the shape right there. You can just paint that. It'd be nice. It'd be nice. Also, our head crest doesn't paint it either. I just noticed that. Again, small details. You might think I'm being too nitpicky, but it really seems they were just afraid of paint with both versions of this mold. Like, they just really shied away from it as much as they could get away with. Oh yeah, and for the molding differences I talked about with our Masterpiece toy, so everything that was remolded from the Masterpiece tracks, the collar section here was given a different look with different surface details. The biceps were different. The hands were even changed. That I wouldn't have even noticed without somebody telling me. And personally, I wouldn't expect or really care if they changed the hands on the retail figure because, I mean, she's just got the generic, fist with a 5mm hole. Who really cares? The thighs are different pieces, which that one I would have liked to see. I always thought Road Rage, that the fact that she had kind of the more curved thighs really helped make her unique and interesting. If I had to pick any bit of retooling to add to this that wasn't already there, I would say the legs being different would have been nice. The collar, barely noticeable difference. The arms, there's just not enough bicep there, I think, for it to really matter. Plus, most of her biceps are covered by the wheels anyway. So yeah, I would have loved to see new thighs on her just to make her a little bit different, a little more feminine. Would have been cool. However, I will say I kind of already expected to get exactly what we got as far as the mold, because the toy was kind of spoiled in the new IDW comics. Road Rage is a pretty major character in those comics. She serves as a bodyguard to Nautica, and her appearance in that looks pretty much exactly like this toy, right down to just being a head swap of tracks. So I kind of just already knew we were getting these, more boxy, more male proportions on her. And in a vacuum, I couldn't really care less if the character looks feminine or not, except there's already a precedent for how she looks and how she differs from tracks that I would have liked to have seen carried over. So, yeah. Personally, it bugs me a little bit. Not enough for me to think it's a bad toy in any way. Again, for what it is, it's great. And perhaps I really am holding it to too high of a standard to compare it to, any additions or changes made to a, $40 figure vice a $23 one. And this completes our look at the new Kingdom Road Rage. Overall, I'm satisfied with this toy. It does what it sets out to do, right? It basically just gives us a new version of the red tracks recolor. And, based on what the original toy was, where, it really was just like a straight recolor down to the face and all that. It got a new weapon, so that was kind of cool. This is kind of halfway between what the original one was, which was a red tracks with like the mouth plate and everything, and the Masterpiece level of re-engineering, which kind of went all out in distinguishing the two. So for a modern retail figure, it's about what I expected, and I'm pleased with it. The mold still has its issues, right? The leg tab is a bit of a problem, and the absolute gut-wrenching anxiety I get when I'm trying to transform this thing from vehicle mode to robot mode is still there, because I'm super worried about cracking this piece here. That's all there still. But I still really like it. It looks good. It's very flashy. Adds, another female character to the roster, which is not something you get a whole lot of. And, I always like to just kind of keep everything different and unique. I don't like a lot of the same, so I like getting obscure characters. I like getting female characters, which are a rarity in Transformers. I enjoy her very much. So, if you have a Target nearby, she is starting to show up in stores. She was a red card exclusive initially. Now I think she's open to anybody online. So I would recommend picking her up, as long as you don't mind, some of the mold issues that are there. I think even, with some of the toy shortcomings, she's still plenty enjoyable enough, and she's a lot of collectors' first chance at actually owning a Road Rage figure. Because, how many people were able to get the original, what was it, like Collector's Edition Road Rage or something from Takara? How many people got the Masterpiece that aren't like really like high-end type collectors? She's a really, really good stand-in for either one of those. And I think if you get her, you'll be very happy with her. Of course, that is just my opinion on Road Rage. Now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Do you like her? Do you dislike her? Are you okay with the lack of changes that were made? Or would you like to see something more? Would you like to see less? I don't know, maybe you want the faceplate version. Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. And thank you for joining me for this look at the new Transformers Kingdom Target exclusive Road Rage. And with all that said, I will see you next time.